The record of Golem Manor. It was in the waning month of October, as the dusk bled longer into night and the wind grew damp with the breath of dying leaves, that I received the letter, a trembling thing, as if the very parchment feared what it carried. He had written again. My uncle, Alaric Sane, the once noble but now rotted line of Golem Manor. I had not heard from him in years, not since his passing, a beautiful and brilliant man, and some whispered, quite mad. Alaric had withdrawn into the mansion's bones, shackled by sorrow, whispering to walls and speaking to no one but the silence. And yes, I had been receiving letters from a dead man. Now another letter had come, brother in blood, and thought, I beg you come, for I have heard her voice in the bells, and I fear the house no longer sleeps. What could I do but obey? Golem Manor was little more than a monument to moss and mourning. Its gables clawed at the sky like skeletal fingers, and the windows watched without blinking. I arrived at twilight, the sun struggling through the mist like a candle in ash. No servants met me. No carriage stood waiting. Only the great door, slightly ajar, as though the house had drawn breath in anticipation. Inside, I found Zed, pale, gaunt, and changed. His once blonde hair had thinned and whitened like frost. His eyes, though wide, seemed to see only inward. He greeted me with a clutching hand and a voice dry as paper. He speaks, sir, he said, not in dreams, in the walls, in the bells. Can you hear them? I have to admit, I could not. Not at first. He led me through the hollowed halls, past mirrors draped in dust cloth and portraits of dead saints who seemed to smirk as I passed. We came at last to the drawing room, where the great chime clock still stood, tall, black as pitch, its face cracked and its hands unmoving. It struck, Zed whispered, at midnight last, though it has not chimed in years. I was asked to make myself comfortable with only a weak fire in the fireplace, a dusty chair, and a glass of dark spirits. I waited. That night, I could not sleep, not for the cold, nor for the wind that howled like wolves about the eaves, but for the soft sound that came just after the stroke of 3, a bell, not loud, not near, faint, as if buried beneath the floorboards, or even deeper. I pressed my ear to the wall. Nothing. But in the silence that followed, I heard a sigh, or perhaps the echo of one. I rose from the chair and wandered the halls. The halls were suffocating, the air heavy with shadows and silence. Every corner wept mildew. Every stair gave a groan of protest. And then I came upon a narrow passage I had not noticed before, a slit in the stone where no door should be. I entered. How could I not? Beyond the door was a descending hallway. Down I went, deeper into the hollows of Golem Manor. The passage grew tighter and damper. The smell of earth thickened, and soon I saw it. A chamber, carved into the stone, beneath the foundation. There stood a bell, wrought of tarnished brass, its surface inscribed with Latin I dared not read. Beneath it, a tomb, unsealed, and standing in its opening, Alaric, his lips pale as pearl, his eyes shut in sleep, or in pretense of it, his hair strewn like seaweed over satin. And yet his chest rose. He breathed. I ran. But as I turned, the bell tolled once, deep and dull, and somewhere behind me, stone shifted. I reached the top of the hall, and there meeting me was Alaric. "You saw me," he said. His eyes were shining with fevered ecstasy. "You saw me, and now you know. I'm not dead, only dreaming, and the house dreams with me." I demanded he explain. He laughed, an echoing, hair-raising laugh. "I buried myself," he said, "with my own hands, and yet I'm still here. I speak through the chimes. I command the walls and the sickle." He froze, eyes distant. "What sickle?" I asked. He pointed toward the floor, and then I saw it, a hairline crack across the tiles, shifting, widening. Before I could speak, the floor beneath us groaned and gave way. I fell. The air rushed past like whispers from the crypt. I landed hard on stone, yet unbroken. The chamber was blacker than night, yet pulsing with mist, as though the walls themselves breathed. Chains rattled somewhere far off. I rose to my feet, disoriented, heart pounding. Then I saw it, a great sickle, appearing from the darkness like the fang of some iron serpent. It swung slowly, and with each pass, it grew closer and closer to me. The walls began to shift inward. I screamed for Alaric, but no reply came. I screamed for God, but the darkness only laughed. From somewhere above, the chime sounded again. 1, 2, then 3, and beside me, a voice, Alaric's voice. "Never shall you leave this place. Never shall light touch your face. Never shall you wake from the house's dream." The walls crept closer. The sickle hissed through the air. I searched for a door, but there was none. I clawed at the stone, but it only bled. The bell tolled once more. Now I scratch this message on the walls, not to beg salvation, for I know none is coming, not to confess, for my only sin was curiosity, but to warn. The house is alive. It dreams through him. It speaks in the bells. It feeds on those who remember. If you hear the chime, do not answer. If the dead call your name, do not follow. If the house opens its doors again, burn it, salt it, seal it, and run. The sickle swings, the walls groan, and the bell prepares its final note. And still I wait. So ended the manuscript, charred at the edges, trembling in its last words, like a man who feels the breath of the abyss upon his neck. The document came to me by courier, unsigned, unrequested, bound in twine, and sealed with a sigil I do not recognize. My name scrawled on the front, in a hand not unlike my own. And so I read it, and so I believed it. And now I write, for I have gone to the house, Golem Manor. Golem still stands, though it should not. The earth and moss has consumed its levels, yet the foundation remains untouched, as though the ground itself refused to swallow it. No birds sing near it, no animals pass through its grounds. Even the wind dies at the edge of the property, held back by some invisible hand. I came at dusk, just as he had, the first witness. His name is not given, and I suspect now that names, like time, like sanity, mean little here. Inside, the silence was thick and watchful. Dust and webs hung in the air, like breath paused, mid-sentence. I descended the hall, he described, though half had crumbled to time. And still, the way opened. The chamber was real. The bell was real. But he, the witness, was gone. No body, no blood, no sign, only drag marks across the floor, leading toward a deeper darkness. And behind it, a sound. Not the sickle, not the chime, but breathing. I followed. What else could I do? The tunnel beyond was ancient, older than the house, older than the land, older than language. Symbols whispered along the walls, not carved but grown into the stone like fungus. I descended into a vast hollow beneath the manor, a space that should not be. It was cathedral-shaped, ribbed like the inside of a great beast. And at its center stood a pillar of bone. At the top of it, a bell. The bell. And beneath it, bound in rusted webs and shadow, what could only be Alaric. But it was no longer him I saw. It was a shape of him, a mockery of human form, and terrible. His eyes were open, black, depthless, shining with yellow fire. I will find her. Never gone, never buried, never dead. Only waiting, waiting for me. The manuscript ends here. It was discovered in the ruins of Golem Manor, behind a sealed wall, one that had not been opened in centuries. Yet the ink was fresh, the sealing wax still warm, and on the final page, scrawled hastily in a hand not matching the rest, he has found a way out.